Our special guest today, Dennis Maruk, the unforgettable story of the forgotten 60 goal scorer. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Our guest today was born and raised in Toronto. He played junior hockey for the Marlies and the London Knights. He was a Red Tilson Trophy winner as a top player in the OHA. He was drafted 21st overall in 1975 by the California Golden Seals. He played at 888 NHL games, where he racked up 878 points for the Golden Seals, Cleveland Barons, Washington Capitals, and Minnesota North Stars. He is an author, a three-time NHL All-Star, a two-time 50-goal scorer. He scored 60 goals in the 1981-82 season. Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Maruk. Dennis, great to have you here, my friend.
Good morning, Joe. Great, glad to be on.
First, we like to start at the beginning here. We go back to your youth. What was it like growing up to Ukrainian immigrants in Toronto back in the day, and what was it like for you?
Well, that was the good old Rexdale, that way they call now Etobicoke, but Rexdale we had a great street. Our street that we lived on, there was a lot of boys and all that, so we were able to play street hockey and do a lot of things together, which was really nice. But that's the way it was. I have three brothers and four sisters, so we had a big family, and it was tough. There's no doubt about it.
What made you decide that you were going to be a hockey player, and how were your parents able to make that happen?
Well, fortunately, I was selected to. There was an organization in the Toronto area that grabbed a lot of the better players and all that around, put them on a team. That was the Shopsy's Toronto Marley organization. So we were able to get equipment and skates and all that. So it didn't cost my parents. The only thing I had to buy was hockey sticks. So I was very fortunate for that to happen growing up in Toronto.
Now, you played for the Marlies for a short period of time, and then you got dealt to London. Tell us about that scenario. And I understand that was a little bit tough for you at the time.
Well, yeah, because went up that Marley chain, as you were saying, and then growing up as a kid, you watch Hockey Night in Canada and play and go to Maple Leaf Gardens. But the Marlies played at Maple Leaf Gardens on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. So I was kind of geared myself to be on that team. I won the scoring championship with Markham Waxers and Junior B at that point, and I thought I was going to get signed to a junior A contract, which I basically was told I was dealt to London, Ontario. So to leave Toronto and to leave family at that young age and friends, it was really hard. At first, I mentioned to the GM coach in London that to make another trade, I was quitting hockey and I was not going to London. I knew nobody, didn't know what was going on about the city, and I didn't know what to do. So I basically wanted to stay in Toronto. And a few weeks before camp, I decided to go. If I like it there in London, I'll stay. If I don't, I'll move back to Toronto. And I ended up staying, playing. I had 3 great years in London.
Well, so you decided to give it a shot, which was a good thing. I understand that Colleen Howe was somehow involved in that trade for. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I've met the Howes after the trade was all done and all that, and Gordy and yeah, Colleen Howe, they wanted the boys on the same team. Marty Howe, the older boy, was already playing for the Marlies, and Mark was drafted by London Knights. So Toronto, they didn't want the boys to play against each other. They wanted them on the same team. So London and Toronto had to make a trade. And first of all, Toronto offered Bruce Boudreau, and they turned it down. They wanted myself and another player, which was Larry Goodenough, Izzy Goodenough, who played in Vancouver and Philadelphia. But we went there, and that's just the way things happen. But the boys got to play together. They're two great hockey players, Marty and Mark, and I have a lot of respect for the Howe family because it gave me an opportunity to show what I can do in a city that knew nothing about me, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, then the house got to play together in Hartford with their dad, and that worked out
Right.
pretty good. That was so they stuck together. So
Yeah.
it was
Mhm.
obviously, yeah. Go ahead, finish that thought. Yeah.
No, that's the Howell family. There's no doubt about it. Yep. Go ahead.
So so the Knights opted for you instead of Gabby Boudreau, which I think is probably a good call because with London, I mean, Gabby was a good hockey player. He was a good junior and good player, but this is your final year junior in London. 66 goals and 145 points in 65 games. That's phenomenal. You won the Red Tilson Trophy as a top player in the league. Um, Pretty awesome numbers, but you weren't picked until the second round. How much of that factored into the size of Dennis Maruk, the fact you're only 5'8"?
Um, I mean, I would say that would be the main factor why 5'8". But the year before that, Washington Capitals, we played them. I was in Knights, and we had an exhibition game against the Washington Capitals, and we lost 8-5, and I had 4 goals that game as a junior. And I kind of went, geez, maybe I could go play in the NHL right now and against these guys. And of course, they didn't have their stacked team, but they weren't a very good team at that point, anyways. Washington, but it really gave me a good eye look at the NHL. So I waited that year, and I thought I'd get drafted in the first round. I really did. I had really good numbers, but I know the main reason was because of my size. Was I was available to California in the first pick in the second round, and they took me. And so it was a team that was not very successful, but it was gave me an opportunity to show California what I could do at a young age. But instead of getting drafted by Montreal or Boston or someone who would have to sit in the minors for 2-3 years, I was able to make the team at my first year and play in the NHL.
Well, I know the Seals had originally planned to send you to the minors for a while, but what
Mhm.
changed their mind?
Oh, I guess my agent at the time was Boom Boom Jeffrey on, and we had a when I was drafted, we had a meeting in Oakland, and we figured we'd sign a contract, and um, they said no. Dennis is going to play in a couple years in the minors, and we'll see how he does because of his size, and we need to play with some mature players. And Boom Boom goes, my Denny, he score you a lot of goal. He no play no minor. We signed contract today. And that's what his voice was. And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I couldn't say anything. I was told just to keep quiet the whole meeting. And they didn't agree to the contract. So our first exhibition game I played against pretty much Marcel Dion most of the game. He's a centerman, I'm a centerman, and I idolize Marcel because of his short stature as well, and been very successful. I ended up getting a couple goals, and I was the first star. And the GM and Bill McGrath and Munson Campbell, the president, tapped me on the shoulder and says, "You call Boom Boom, tell him when we get back to Oakland, we sign a contract." So I always had to prove. I always had to prove because of my small stature, and I had to prove all the way till my last game, basically.
Yeah, always having playing with a chip on
Right.
your shoulder, I'm guessing too,
Right.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what was it like in the Bay Area pre-Gretzky back in the day?
Well, the hockey was okay there. There we had like oh, we played in the Oakland Coliseum, so there was what 12,000 seats there. That's where the Raiders played, the Warriors, not the
Yeah,
Raiders, the Warriors played. Golden State Warriors played,
right.
and we had some good support, but it just wasn't enough. And they were going to build a new arena right there on the Coliseum. The BART was going to go right between a big shopping mall and then the arena, but that got voted against at that time. Mel Swig was the owner, the Swig family, and so they decided their options. One was to move to Cleveland, so that's what they did. But my first year in Oakland was something that I'll never forget because I made the team. I got the opportunity to play against a lot of players that I watched on TV, Hockey Night in Canada. I'm on the ice playing against them, like Phil Esposito, Bobby Orr, and all those guys. And I just was just in awe that here I am, this kid from Rexdale playing in national hockey against Phil Esposito and facing off against him. So those are things that I'll always remember because I ended up getting 30 goals my first year, and that's pretty good at that time because hockey is tough that at that time.
So here we go. It's we you end up in Cleveland. We have some video of that of one of your
Well,
plays from Cleveland here. We got some action here. Turnover in the Leaf zone against the Leafs. Maruk with a lovely setup for Bob Murdoch and bingo. Do you remember that play?
oh, I remember a few of them, not too many. I'd have to see it like you're showing it right now.
Here we
Someone
go.
said to me
Here's the
when,
replay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there you go, perfect. Those things happen. We had a good line. I started with in my first 3 years of pro, where it was Al McAdam on left wing, myself in the middle, and Bobby Murdoch on the right side, and we were called the 3M line. And that was my first 3 years. So I learned and gained a lot of respect for those two guys. They helped me out become a better hockey player, and that's what happens when you have a good line. You don't want to break them up, and that worked out really well for us.
The 3M line. I love it. So, but you end up in Washington. How did that process unfold? How'd that happen?
Well, the end of Washington was when Cleveland and Minnesota North Stars merged in '78, and so there was a lot of hockey players on the one team. There's two teams, so Lou Nanne, the GM of Minnesota, he needed a big left winger, so he needed to get another draft pick. So he mentioned to me that he's going to keep a centerman and he's going to move me somewhere where he can get a first round pick. Well, that never happened in the summer. It happened just before the season started, and as a matter of fact, the second game, I dressed the first game, had one shift, and dressed that didn't draft the second, and I knew something was up, and that's exactly what happened. I got traded to the Washington Capitals for a first round pick and played 5 years there, and then traded back to Minnesota in '83.
So the 1980-81 season, you mentioned you had 30 goals in your first year, but you're really starting to find your groove now. Your final game of the season in the 81 in 1981 against Detroit. This is April 5th. You went into this game with 47 goals, delayed penalty here. Bob Kelly gets it in front for Maruk, and you score on the backhand. Then it's a power play. Okay, same game. Now you got 48 goals. Power play, the point shot comes in from the point from Howard Walker. You're going to redirect it past Larry Lazinski for your second goal of the game. That's number 49. At this point, how are you feeling? Pretty excited?
Yeah, you're getting closer and closer, and um, I got to thank the guys I played with there. There's no doubt about it because they set me up, and I was just able to put it in.
Okay, so then Lazinski keeps the puck in. Kelly throws it in front. Dennis Maruk, sorry, Howard keeps it in. Dennis Maruk bangs in front for the hat trick now. Goal number 50 of the season. A standing ovation from the fans in Washington. What did that feel like for you?
To be the first player to ever do it in an organization was pretty special. As I mentioned earlier, the guys that I played with, Jean Pronovo and Bob the Hound Kelly, were a big part of that whole success because you can't do it on your own. You have to have people with you and people helping you and working with you. So I have to compliment those two guys because they were experienced. I was the younger centerman who was learning, and to do that in Washington in front of fans was pretty electrifying. There's no doubt about it.
So that was an awesome. The Capitals weren't doing very well, but you certainly were, and you guys were starting to come together, and that line was pretty awesome. So down in 1981-82, it's 60 goals. What a season that was. Now here's a game in Toronto. Again, we go back to the Leafs game, and Bobby
Okay.
Carpenter is going to work the puck in for Chris Valentine, in front for Dennis Maruk. Now, how did you get yourself so wide open there?
Sneaky, I guess. I don't know. I didn't want to. I didn't stand still because I was told not keep moving around, move yourself, get yourself in an open, and you may get myself. The line mates there were Chris Valentine and Ryan Walter, two great players. I mean, I went from an older guys in my first year there with the Hound and Brony, and then with younger players with Ryan Walter, who was a great leader, checker, and Chris had great soft hands, and we worked really well together. We were the same line on the power play, So we had some plays and we tried them. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. But I think Chris knew where I was, and Ryan knew, and we all kind of knew each other, what kind of positions we were in. And sometimes we didn't even look. We passed the puck, and their player was right there because we had worked on certain things, and we tried it in the games, and sometimes it worked. But those guys are to have a year like that, 60 goals, and look at Gretzky. He had 92 that year. Mike Bossy and I were fighting it out for second place. He ended up with 63, and I had 60 goals, and I had a couple games left, but I just couldn't score. I had not like I didn't have any chances. I was trying to get more goals, but goalies, you got to give goalies credit sometimes.
Sometimes, I mean, you hate to do it
Yeah,
unless you have to, but yeah, that
can't
was
give them
pretty
credit all
awesome.
the
But
time. No.
you look at that, look at that season. Gretzky with 92. His season was just unbelievable. I mean, and that he had a lot of support as well. But Gretzky was
Right,
Gretzky, and Bossy, being
right.
the sniper he was with the 63, as you mentioned, and you in third place with 60. But to be in that kind of company, that's pretty impressive. You must have felt pretty good about your accomplishments there.
Yeah, definitely. I do charity events, and I have a friend in Toronto that he has a golf tournament, and I'm involved, and he puts on a big Bristol board, the top 10 scorers of that year. And if you look at those 10 names on that, the top 10, like Gretzky, Bossy, Peter Stastny, Marcel Dion, Brian Trache, Dino Ciccarelli. And then there's my name in there. So I kind of like, I was pretty, when I saw that list, I go, that's where I started to think about, hey, that's a pretty good personnel in that top 10. And to have my name in there and number 4 was pretty special. And when I always run into Peter Stastny, would say, you were a great hockey player. I knew when we played against you, when you played for Team Canada, you're a great hockey player. And when you hear things like that from your peers, you know that you're in a special kind of group.
I got news for you, Dennis. You were a great hockey player. Okay, and you weren't afraid to play
Oh, thanks.
physical despite being 5'8". Same game at the Leafs game. The Leafs come after you. Terry Martin wants to go. Now Marcel Dion referred to you and he as pit bulls. Would you say that that's a pretty accurate assessment?
Yeah, I think
Because I mean, you gave
we
up some
did.
size here. Yeah,
I
yeah,
I might have been a little more aggressive than Marcel.
right.
You couldn't stop that. You couldn't stop Marcel, but I, I didn't mind the hitting game. I got involved as well. I felt it was very important to do that right from the start when I turned pro because of it was going to be a physical game, and I just felt that if I didn't do that, maybe things wouldn't last as long. So I became a little more physical, hitting, no matter who's got the puck, top of the league or the worst guy in the league, whatever. I wanted that puck because you can't do anything if you don't have the puck. So that's kind of way. I mean, that year I had 136 points. I think I had 128 minutes in penalties. And people say, well, how do you, I think I'm one of the one or two players that have had over 100 points that had also over 100 minutes in penalties. I think myself and Shanahan are the only other two or whatever. But that's just the way the game was. It was a very physical time, and I became a more physical player as well as scoring goals and making plays.
Yeah, back to some goal scoring exploits from Dennis Maruk. Just about a week later, off the shoot in, Valentine's going to get the puck in front. You're going to bat it out of the air, pass Bunny Larocque. Now that's your second of the game. Do you remember this game? You had 2 goals and 3 assists, and the announcers thought the puck went off your body in the call. But no, you batted that puck out of the air. That was the eye to hand coordination was pretty impressive, and that went a line
Thank
too,
you.
as you mentioned.
Yeah, that's I mentioned. Yeah, yeah. I think I was fortunate because I used the short. I probably used one of the shortest sticks in the league. I had a big knob. I liked the big knob on it because I can hand. I didn't have a big hand. I liked that grip and everything. And everyone goes, "Oh, how can you hold on to that stick?" But that's what it was. It was short stick, and it was kind of like a baseball bat, close to you. I mean, you had better. I found I had better control I've tried longer sticks, never worked. So I always stayed with a shorter stick. So I think that's why I had some pretty good puck, stick hit out of the air and stuff like that. We worked that in practice a little bit too, shooting the puck off the boards, 2 feet in the air as it comes back. You try and whack the puck down. So just like in the goal there and the rebound and all that.
Well, you don't get 60 goals if you're not pretty good with the stick, no doubt about that. So here that magical season continues, and here we are a couple months later. This is the NHL All-Star game in Washington, and let's listen to the introduction of the hometown boy, Dennis Maruk.
From the Washington Capitals, number 20, center Dennis Maruk.
Now, this went on for quite some time, Dennis. Tell us about what the feeling you got right there, being at home and having that introduction.
Well, being introduced last, I knew something was going to happen. And being the representative for the Washington Capitals, it was pretty special, and for the organization. But I guess the whole weekend having lunch at the White House, meeting Ronald Reagan and meeting the
Wow.
president's wife and the crew there. We had a great time. My parents were there for a week. Very special for them. And
Well, and
yeah,
go ahead. Yeah, finish that thought.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's where and then yeah, as I was saying, being I tried to score, and there's no doubt about it. I tried to score, but I didn't get a chance. I got an assist or something. But I mean, the just the whole time in Washington was phenomenal, and the support I got was great.
Well, you mentioned you got an assist, and we actually have some video of that. So it's a lovely setup for Ray Bork, who was moving in for the point. He's going to beat
Right.
Grant Fuhr, and then the crowd starts chanting your name.
Yeah.
That was pretty
You,
cool. So that
yeah, that's pretty.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it
I
was
was just
just
going to
kind of
say, yeah, yeah.
special. Look who scored the goal to pass the puck, and Raymond Borg, who I've done a lot of charity events with, and just a great man, and it was an honor to play with those guys.
Yeah, yeah, some great players on the ice there. I mean, Bork and
Mhm.
Grant Fuhr.
Right.
And so between periods of that game, you were interviewed by Dave Hodge. Let's have a look at that interview
Based on the points that certain teams have there as opposed to your conference. What about your dressing room?
Our dressing room, I think we're the older team, so we're kind of relaxed right now, and we feel that we got the 2-1 edge, and if we keep playing, we had a slow start. Michel Dion made some big saves for us, so if we settle down now in the second period, we'll play better.
This is going to be your first 100-point season in the NHL, and that's still a big accomplishment despite what number 99 of Edmonton does.
It sure is for me. I feel that I'm trying to help Washington get in the playoffs, and I feel that I've got 91 points right now, and if I keep going, I'll surpass 100, and hopefully I can help the team get there.
What is the actual derivation of the chant that we hear when you go out there? Are they saying moo or rook or what?
No, it's Maruk. It's one, and they've done it ever since I've been here.
now. Yeah, so there you go. But it was a little bit special
Mhm.
that day, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. When the players, the main thing is to win Stanley Cup. There's no doubt about it. We had struggled as a team there in Washington, and to get in the playoffs was a very special thing for us. And even though we had to go up against the Islanders, who were a very strong team and won it, but we got in and all that. So just that season was a great year for me. But it's just one of those things that happens. Player gets an opportunity to play in a standing, not standing, all-star game, and you're playing against some great hockey players that you played throughout the year, and now you're in the same dressing room with some of them. So at first it was a little, what do you say? You, you all become friends basically, and that's what the neat thing about the whole thing about the All Star. But it was a real game. It was not like there was hitting, there was all that during our time when we had All Star games. We didn't have all this entertainment that they have today. I really wish we had that because I really enjoy the entertainment side of it, and would have been a lot of fun.
What do you think when you see that kid, with the beautiful stash, being interviewed by Dave Hodge there? What would you be telling him today if you know it, knowing what you know today?
Well, I think the main thing is you have to. Well, the game today is a little different. It's more, as I say, entertainment and a lot of finesse and speed and not too much hitting. I think the main thing is that you'd have to you always want them or your peers to see that, well, doing something different. Like if you were a goal scorer, playmaker, try to be someone like a block shots or kill penalties or do something different or make a few hits, whatever. Do something different that they don't expect you to. That's not really who you are. Become more of a complete player.
Okay, your second last game of the season, you're facing the Maple Leafs, and you get number 59, or no, I guess it's maybe the third last game of the season. Anyway, and you got number 59 against the Leafs.
Skate comes all the way back to Beach. Beach from the blue line just waits there.
Here it is. Do you remember this game?
I have to look. Everybody's asked me that. Do you remember the night you got 60 goals? I said I have to watch just like you're showing right now. Otherwise, I don't remember. Now I see it. And I go, oh, now I remember. That's what happened. Yeah.
Right.
Getting up there in age. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those things happen. Yeah.
So people tell you're known as a sniper, you guy who got 60 goals, but that same season I think you had 76 assists. So obviously you're a playmaker. Uh, is this you kind of like you got a bit of a bad name? I mean, you're not the Cy Young guy who scores 30 goals and gets 5 assists.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've always considered myself as a better playmaker and goal scorer. I just had quick hands and scored and gotten good spots around the net or whatever. I mean, I didn't have like the 120-mile-an-hour slap shot or anything. And I had a good shot. But I had quick hands, and a lot of the goal scorers have quick hands, have quick release, and I think that's what I had. But I was more. I think I was more. If you look at my game and all that, the season I had more assists every year, and because of that's the way I was. I was more of a playmaker. I enjoyed. If I had a goal, I wanted to get another assist or two assists, or I had two assists, I want to get another goal or something. So it kind of worked that all together. But I really enjoyed setting my line mates up or setting up a teammate, whatever. I think that was very special to be able to do that.
And the following season, you had 81 points in 80 games, but you were dealt to Minnesota. Did that come as a surprise for you?
I think I was never told, but I think it was. Um, I was playing one that year left wing. It was the first time, and then they had mentioned in the summer that I was going to be going back to center for the next season, and then a week later I got traded. So I was kind of shocked at that point after being told, but I realized that Bobby Carpenter, who was there, was centerman, was going to play a lot. So I think it was a situation between Bobby or I, and they had made that decision to let Dennis, who was older, go and keep Bobby, and Bobby's going to play a lot. And I believe I was never told that, but that's how I read things.
That's what it seemed to you, right? So, but
Yeah.
things went pretty well in Minnesota. I mean, you didn't maybe have the individual stats that you had in Washington, but you guys did make the Final Four in the playoffs. We got to go here. Brian Bellows is gonna fire in. You're gonna clean it up. The Stars, as I mentioned, made the Final Four that season. Lost to Edmonton, like just about everybody else would at that particular time. But what was it? What was it like in Minnesota? What was that playoff run like?
That it was. They had a real good team. Minnesota had a real strong team. I think we're probably the only team that could beat the Oilers during the '80s. That one series we had real close games. We even had them 4-1 in the third game and lost 7-5. They were just so powerful. But the Minnesota, I mean, I played on the third and fourth line. I wasn't the top two centermen. And I ended up anywhere between 70 and 80 points a season. So if I would have had at least as close to the same kind of ice time that I had when I was in Washington, I would have been over 100 points easy. There's no doubt. But I had some good line mates there too. And the line we played, Brian Bellows and Kent Nielsen. Ken Nielsen was a phenomenal hockey player. And we played together as a line that did really good. I think the one year we got beat out the first round by St. Louis in 5 games, and I had 15 points. And I don't think anybody caught me till the final round. So that's just the way things go when you get together with a few guys and everything starts to gel.
And you had a few good seasons in Minnesota. We got another one here. Basil McRae with the shot. You're going to find the rebound. Your time with Minnesota, were you looking back? Would you say that these are some very good years you had there?
Yeah, I would say the team. For myself personally, no, of course I would have liked to play more. There's no doubt, but we had a strong team. Not everybody's going to get. We try to balance out the minutes and all that, but with that team, we had some great hockey players: Neil Broughton, Dino Cicerelli, Craig Hartsburg, Paul Holmgren, Basil McRae. We had toughness. We had scoring. Tom McCarthy. We had a lot of scoring as well. Willie Plett, Steve Payne. So we did have some strong teams there, and they just couldn't get over that hump to win the Stanley Cup.
Another opportunity you got because unfortunately with Capitals you didn't make the playoffs a lot of times, but you got a chance to represent Team Canada, which an opportunity you never ever turned down, which is awesome. And we got you playing against Team USA. You jump on a rebound here after Pete LaPresti can't corral a puck. Do goals like this bring back some memories for you? The international games for Team Canada.
I really enjoyed myself, and especially when you're playing for your country. There's no doubt about it. You have the opportunity. Our main thing was to play for the Stanley Cup, but I didn't get in the playoffs. My first 4 or 5 years was a very, very struggle. So I had always got asked and selected to go play for the World Championship Team Canada, and I definitely said yes. There was no question about it. To have the opportunity during that at that time was to play against greatest hockey players in the world from other countries, Tretchak, and I think I did get a goal against them. But Tretchak, all these guys over there that were phenomenal. And then some of them, of course, played in the NHL. But during that time, they were big stars in their countries, and here I am on the ice against them and having fun. So I really enjoyed my time at Team Canada, and I would never have turned it down any time they asked me. I would never turn it down.
Any interesting or unusual stories from your exploits with Team Canada that stand out for you?
Well, we had some good times up there. You get to know other players coming from other teams and that. But there was one little story, I guess, that we were playing. We were down in the Gremlin Square just outside, and we were playing touch football. And of course, you couldn't miss us. We all had our red and white sweatsuits on with Canada on the back, and so we were kind of playing a little football. And then the one of the military guys come over and kind of pointed his finger at us. No, you can't do that. And we said, well, what do you mean you can't do this? So he raised his Tommy gun up. He had his Tommy gun and give me the ball. So we had to give him the ball. So a little
Jeez.
scary at times, even then. And we were told to be careful when you're going out or go anywhere. Make sure you're not by yourself. And at that time, that was the only scary part, I think, over there. That when we were in Russia and all that kind of stuff and during that, even though we were Team Canada and treated extremely well with the Canadian embassy there. But we still had to be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you got to mind your P's and Q's when you're in a communist country and stuff is going on.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the book that you wrote with Ken Reid, Dennis Maruk, the unforgettable story of hockey's forgotten 60-goal man. How did this book come about, and what prompted you to say, yeah, let's do this?
I did a golf event with Ken Reid. and I knew him on TV, but I had never met him. So we got talking after the golf about a few things, and I started telling him some stories, and he says, "Boy, you got unbelievable. Why don't we do a movie? Well, better. Let's do a book." I go, "What do you mean? I got a lot more things in my life to take care of than doing a book right now." So about a month later, he called, let's meet for lunch. So I said, okay, met for lunch, and he says, you mind I tape? I said, go right ahead. So we taped about 3-4 hours of stories and stuff we talked about, and he says, "You still interested in doing a book?" I says, "Ken, no, I'm not. I really don't wanna." And he goes, "Oh, come on." I said, "No, let me think about it." Well, I thought about some more, and we met again, and we did it again. The 3 hours of stories, and good and bad, positive, negative things that went on, and I said, "Okay, Ken, here, this is how I want it done. Let's come up with a story. Let's come up with a title." But I read a lot of James Patterson books, and I think he's a great author. And they're all short chapters. I'm 60 years old. I scored 60 goals, and let's make it 60 chapters. He goes, "That's pretty good. That's a pretty good idea." So we went ahead with it. And we came up with a title, "The Unforgettable Story of Hockey's Forgotten 60-Goal Man, Dennis Maruk." But I wrote a little bit. Ken wrote. We kind of got together on it, and then he polished it all up and went ahead. We went ahead with it, and things have done. It's been a couple of years, but it's done really well. I still get people asking me for the book and all that. Yeah.
Well, it's good. There's some good stuff in that book. So, Sue,
Thanks.
60 goals. Not a lot of guys get to that point. Only a handful of NHL players have ever reached that stage. Did you assume
24.
that 24? There you go. So, did you assume that that would open a lot of doors for you after your career was over?
Well, we were told that when I was in Minnesota that when you retire, there's gonna be a lot of doors open. Well, I didn't get too many doors open for me, I'll tell you. And I don't know. I think if I was in Toronto, uh, or a big city, Montreal, Toronto, and scored that 60 goals, that might have been a different story. But being a Toronto Maple Leaf, or instead of being a Washington Capital, I didn't live in Washington, so that was probably another issue. But those things. It was a struggling time for me in my post career, but I had to, suck it up and get on and do some things.
Well, you did rub shoulders with a lot of celebrities. Tell us about those experiences.
Well, I lived in Aspen, Colorado. Well, I first started meeting celebrities with Ron Duguay, and Ron and when I played in London, Ron played for Sudbury, and so when we made it to the NHL, we're the same age basically, and so he would say, "Let's meet up downstairs at the bar after the game in Madison Square Garden." I said, "Okay." So then he would take me out, and that's where I started meeting celebrities with him. Cheryl Teagues and some of the pretty women that he was involved with, Kim Alexis, all those girls, and that's where I started meeting, and then actors and actresses and stuff. And then when I ended up going to Aspen, Colorado, to live, I lived there for 7 years. That's where I met pretty much a lot of the movie people. A lot of them are nice people. And as a matter of fact, I worked for Hall and Oates, John Oates. I worked took care of a warehouse. A buddy of mine owned it, the warehouse there with high-end furniture. And I ended up going over and helping John Oates move some 100-year-old farm machinery. And he asked me if I'd want to stay on and work in his farm and all that. And I did. So that's how I met him, and then would meet them all down in Aspen, skiing or downtown. As a matter of fact, Kevin Costner, I worked at his second wedding, the wedding that he just got divorced. We're going through right. I worked at his wedding the whole week at the place he built. So I mean, there's those things. I can go on and on stories about who I met, and famous musicians, the late Joe Cocker and Neil Young, and where I was working in Hotel Jerome downtown Aspen. A lot of them stayed there when they performed in the summer, and they stayed right there. They all had different names. I knew who they were, and I knew their names, but it was kind of neat to run into all those people. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, and others.
right,
But
right, right.
right.
I didn't mention
So
goalie. Yeah, because we had to deliver furniture to goalie, and that's how I met her. And then yeah, she came to the store and bought something, right, for Kurt, and she goes, it was kind of cute. She goes, "Do you know anywhere I can go have a cigarette?" And I go, "Yeah, to the side door there where the parking is." The side you go. She, "Would you come out with me? I don't want to go by myself." So I would go out and stand talk. Oh, sorry, stand and talk to her, and she we became, it was her hockey love. She called me her hockey love because we had something in common to talk about. Their son was a goalie, and so we talked about hockey for a while, and then ended up going to their place, delivering what she bought, and set it all up, and got to meet Kurt. Yeah, all that. So it was kind of neat. Yeah, neat people.
So you after the career's over and you're doing various work, you experience depression at a pretty deep level. There's a dark point in your life. Tell us about what happened to you.
Yeah, that was the part that we didn't know for sure to go into the book and that, but I thought it was needed that because I was more or less laying that it's not all peaches and cream. People do go through some rough times, and not only on a normal life, but people that are athletes and that. And yeah, I went through a tough time, bounce around from job to job, and not knowing exactly, as we had mentioned earlier, that I thought these doors would open. I didn't want to get involved with hockey. I did with kids. I coached kids and Aspen, all that, but things just weren't working out too good about certain things, and I made that decision. I'm sure alcohol was part of it too, but I had made that decision that I was going to asked to Vegas to end my life, and thank God I got so tired I pulled over and on a dirt road and passed out. The sun woke me up. I got out of the car, and 5 feet was the Grand Canyon. So I was pretty lucky to be able to, pretty fortunate to be able to sit here and talk to you today. I got in my car and turned and drove back to Aspen. I had a job and everything, and someone saved me. Someone took care of me there, and took a long time. It took a couple of years to get over all that, and I'd have to thank family members and especially my daughter Sarah.
So you got to that point where you kind of where jumping was an option, ending your life was an option into the Grand Canyon, and so like
No,
that's a
jumping wasn't an option. I just froze. I mean, I froze. I freaked because I didn't know what was going on. I was lucky my car didn't just go right down the Grand Canyon. I didn't turn off a road. It was just a dirt bumpy road, and boom, I just
wow.
stopped the car. 5 feet, 5 feet. Yeah, I was
Wow.
still going to Vegas. I was still going to Vegas, but someone woke me up or someone took care of me while I was standing there.
So what was it that
Mhm.
went on for you? Was it just the light went on? You decided it's time to make some life changes. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think the word love and how important that is, and your family members and what you have. Um, when you're going through rough times, sometimes you just don't think about those things. I tried to do things on my own, which is probably the worst thing you can try and do. Is today in today's game, there's so much help that they have for players in not only our sport and all other sports. To when you are struggling, going through some very personal times in your life, that you have support and you have help. We really didn't have a lot of support then, and I think that's where you'll find a lot of players have struggled my age or a little bit older that have gone through tough times like that, because we did not have the support. So since I realized how important certain things were in life, that it did take some time to rearrange certain things, and have I had an opportunity or thought of doing that again? Absolutely not.
So, you mentioned the importance of reaching out for help. I mean, I'm sober a long time because I had issues with alcohol, and
Mhm. Yeah.
it's reaching out for help is such an important part of all of it. But you know, it sort of goes against what you've sort of learned all the way along, doesn't it? It's difficult to get rid of those old ideas and start taking care of yourself. Is that right?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and as we talked about this a little bit earlier, your post career. What are you going to do now? And I think when the doors were not opening, it was a struggle, and I think to the point where, yeah, you were successful, and yeah, we didn't get paid that much money to live off the money that we made. Like they are today. I think that's where you wonder yourself, well, why didn't I prepare myself for this? So I have to blame myself as well, to not prepare myself for a post type of career.
Do you have a message out there now today for players who are just getting in the league or just coming up, or players who are even established now?
Well, yeah, they make so much money. They I always say get involved with something. Do something that different that complements your game. If you're still playing, if you're not playing, and you know your career is winding down, be creative. Try to find something that you really enjoy and have fun with. They have the money, they have the resources today that we did not have, and I find it's a lot easier transition for the players today than the players during our time.
You've had some health issues too. How is the health today?
Well, as a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going to PEI to play in a 3-day golf tournament. We're going for a week. I'm a type 2 diabetic, and last December I had an infection on my big toe, under my big toe, and had ended up having it amputated in the middle of December. As a matter of fact, about 10 days ago, I finally got rid of the crutches and got rid of the cane, and I'm starting to walk a little bit better. I got some orthotics on. The toe is not fully healed. As a matter of fact, right after I get off the phone, I have to go see my plastic surgeon. Um, I haven't seen him for 6 weeks, so this is going to be hopefully a real good meeting. So it's been a I would say a real tough, terrible year up to this point. About I'd say last month or so, things have starting to get better. I'm getting more movement, more things. You just got to keep going.
Have you tried hitting balls yet with the?
Yes, I have. I played in Joe Carter's golf tournament, and my foot was sore, not where the incision, but the right side of my foot because my foot always wants to go to the right. So it was rubbing against the shoe. It was okay. It didn't bother me. I'm just out of shape for golf. That was the first time I golfed, and it doesn't hurt the foot. Just it's awkward, and I just got to get used to it again. Used to what I had.
Okay, so you had those lean years in Washington. What was it like to watch the Capitals win the Stanley Cup in 2019?
I was there for the fourth game, and
18.
it was fourth game in Washington, and it was really exciting. The crowd was fans. The whole town was just jumping, And a friend of mine says, "Well, I got a plane. My buddy's got a charter plane, and we can fly to Vegas. I get tickets, no problem." I go, "Well, I don't know. I don't think they're going to win in Vegas. I think they'll come home now." And I had everything set up. The sixth game. My grandson and my son were coming from Minneapolis. We had a hotel. We had everything tickets. We had everything set up to watch them win on the sixth game. Well, you know what? They won in the fifth game in Vegas. So, but I was really excited, and I did get to what do you call it? Go the next year when they had the red carpet and all that. They invited me down for the red carpet treatment, and that was pretty special. Yeah.
So you mentioned your grandson. You mentioned your grandson. You got a couple grandkids. I know. Any aspiring hockey players or athletes?
Well, I don't know the way those two are going. My son's never home. They play for the Brick. I don't know if you know Brick AAA. They have that all over the United States, and they come to Canada, and it's the top kids at their age. They get try out for the teams and were selected, and they're 9 and 11, and they're both on the AAA Minnesota Blades. So the way they're going right now. Who knows? There may be another Maruk in the National Hockey League. But my son went to Notre Dame in school and college in the States, and he had a great job opportunity, and he ended up taking it, and that's where he's working right now and very successful.
So he could have had a hockey career potentially as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Dennis, I think it's been an amazing journey that you've been on here, buddy. And what's the best advice that you ever received?
Best advice that I ever received, I guess. I had some great coaches growing up and a young lad in Toronto, and I think that's where it can make or break you at times. Pee Wee coach, minor bantam coach, and all of them. Junior B. I had good coaches, but when I got drafted, I still wasn't there. And I wanted to know what was going on. So a good buddy of mine, well, not but at the time I knew who he was, Dave Hutchison, who played for the LA Kings and Chicago Blackhawks. He had a golf tournament, and in the summer before my first year camp, and I said, Hutch, Hutch, you made it to the NHL. What's it like? What do you got to do? And he says, Danny, he says, you can score goals, you can make plays and all that, but you got to be a prick out there. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, you got to go in your training camp. You hit your best players. You show them that you want to play there. And I can't do that. They're my team. No, you can do that. You go there, and they want to see that. If you have to fight, you fight. But you got to be a prick out there. And since that, I've always been that type of player out in the ice. As well, score goals, take plays. There you go.
Yeah, right.
So I did something, I said earlier, do something different. Do something that they don't expect you to do or be. And I think that gave me my 14 years. That helped me play that long.
14 years. That's a hell of a career, buddy. Thank you. And you know what? You don't seem like a prick to me, but that's just me, right? I didn't play against you either.
You didn't play against me, but on the ice you might have thought. So yeah, okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Listen, thanks so much for taking this time to join us, Dennis. And
my pleasure.
We'll see you at one of these tournaments down the road again, right?
Thanks. Yes, that'd be great. Thanks, Joe. Okay. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
My Costa Swiss pick of the week. Last week, I took the number 5 horse Resolute Lady in the 6th race at Mohawk, the $104,000 opening leg of the Gold Series for 2-year-old trotting fillies. I also told you to take the 256 Exactor and Triactor box. Well, the 2-horse Willie's Home Run with James McDonald driving went pretty much wire to wire in 156 even. Resolute Lady was second, paying $13.60 to place. The 6-horse Miss Cara closed for third. So, with the Exactor, Triactor, that's a $217 payday. Kyle Fellows, the winning trainer. Let's hear from the connections. James McDonald, the driver, and co-owner Rob Fellows.
She always feels good. She feels super professional. She feels like she just wants to race all the time. So I was confident that she'd be good, but you never know. First time in the lead, they can do anything. So it was definitely the result we were hoping for.
We have her brother, Logan Park, and he's a good horse. So you never, until they show it on the racetrack. I've had so many have trained down very good, and you've never heard their names. So, but she did train down good, and she qualified, raced good, and now tonight, she showed she can go a little more. Thank you.
Love those 2-year-olds. This week I'm looking at the opening race on Thursday night's card, the opening leg of the Millard Farm series for 2-year-old trotting colts and geldings. I like Ways and Means, who showed in a recent qualifier very well. Doug McNair will pilot. I will also go with the 146 Exactor and Triactor. For all the racing updates, visit Costa TV on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Go to hpibet.com for your wagering options.
Joe Tilley Sports is brought to you by COSA, Central Ontario Standardbred Association, providing a united voice for harness horse people racing at Ontario tracks. Check out your benefits today at COSAonline.com and check out COSA TV on Facebook and YouTube for all the latest harness news and live action updates. Live racing year-round. Go to hpibet.com for all your wagering options. Become a member today, and your first bet is free. That's hpibet.com. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top-of-the-line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com.
And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian and local sports. I want to remind you that, once again, that the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, as well as the Spanglish Network, Buzz TV, and Zingo TV. Also, check out the show on YouTube. All of our great past shows are there. Some clips, some shorts, lots of fun stuff. Like and subscribe. It's absolutely, positively free. Thanks once again to Dennis Maruk for being on the show. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Do you want to buy or sell a home? Could 31 years of real estate experience help you? Why not speak to an amazing team that loves to overpromise and overdeliver? Aldo has a tremendous team of experts on staff. They are committed to making your next real estate transaction smooth and comfortable. Call 416-GET-ALDO or visit getaldo.com. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Number 9, a Jeep ride to explore Wadi Rum, also known as the Valley of the Moon. This breathtaking desert landscape has been used as a backdrop for numerous movies, and it was amazing to see it in person. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Attention security seekers. Ready to take control? Introducing Corporate Protection and Investigative Services, your ultimate solution. Retailers tired of losing profits to theft? Our retail loss prevention experts have you covered. Mobile patrol, close body protection, insured door persons, we've got your security needs covered from all angles. Background investigations and civil recovery programs, trust us for thorough solutions. Licensed by the Ministry of Solicitor General, fully insured and bonded. Visit www.corporateprotection.ca or call 1-800-827-1692 for top-notch security and private investigation services.
God damn it.
The Shot of the Week is brought to you by Sleepy Hollow Country Club. 60 years of tradition, providing a challenging and enjoyable golf experience just minutes from Toronto.